CNN.
Radio.
It happened in 1948, this week to be exact, in this quiet canyon called Los Gatos Creek in the hills above the central California town of Coalinga. A DC-3 carrying 32 people crashed here, killing all on board. 65 years later, 28 of them are finally being given the most fundamental aspect of human dignity, a name. I'm CNN's Jim Roop.
I'm one of the last old-timers out here.
Lisa Janilla is a mining geologist staying up the road from the crash site at an old convict work camp. She walked me through what happened that January morning.
And it was flying from the Bay Area, going, I guess, to Mexico with the Bracero program. They were all Braceros.
The Bracero program, she just mentioned, was really the nation's first guest worker program. During World War II, the U.S. government would fly Mexican laborers in to work the fields as Americans went off to fight the war. And then after 2 or 3 months, the workers were flown back to Mexico. This story begins on one of those flights.
I guess there was an explosion on the plane, and one of the wings fell off. Can you imagine how scary that would have been? And of course, you know, it was not able to fly, and it crashed. And there was the pilot and a co-pilot, and one of the pilot's wife was the stewardess on the plane. And the plane, of course, crashed, and all those poor people perished. And they actually found some baby clothing in the wreckage, but they were never able to find a child. It's really tragic.
The convicts from the camp were the first on the scene to help. They watched the plane come down. Witnesses say they saw people leaping from the plane before impact. When the newspaper articles were published and the radio reports broadcast, the names of the pilot, co-pilot, flight attendant, and immigration guard were announced, but not the Mexican laborers' names. The reports simply said, and 28 deportees.
Yeah, well, you have to remember that time, you know, people were a little prejudicial, I think.
The bodies of the crew were flown to their hometowns for funeral services and internment. The 28 Mexican laborers were trucked 70 miles to Fresno, where they were placed in a mass grave at Holy Cross Cemetery, identified only by a 2 by 3 foot grave marker that reads, 28 Mexican citizens who died in an airplane accident near Coalinga on January 28, 1948. R.I.P.
You won't have a name when you ride the big airplane, and all they will call you will be deportees.
It was that prejudice, nameless indignity, that prompted folk singer Woody Guthrie to write a poem about it, his last work. It was put to music later and sung here by Woody's son Arlo.
600 miles to the Mexico border. They chase us like outlaws.
Over the years, it's become a sort of anthem for migrant farm workers and recorded by artists like Linda Ronstadt, Bob Dylan, Bruce Springsteen. The 28 remained here, unnamed and nearly forgotten, until Carlos Rascon came along.
There's a resolution, and that final piece of putting the names of the people is coming together.
Rascon is the director of Catholic cemeteries for the Archdiocese of Fresno. He's only been in this position for 2 years.
I think if it wasn't for a couple of folks that have come forward, visitors to the cemetery inquiring about the marker and where they were buried, I would have known.
It piqued his curiosity. He says to sign up for the Bracero program, the laborers had to submit names. Somebody had those names. Rascon, after several months, emails, and phone calls, was able to get them. He began working with the Archdiocese and the Woody Guthrie Foundation to replace this small generic grave marker with a larger one, inscribed with the names of the 28. He'll also have the names of the 4 crew members inscribed on the marker. It'll cost an estimated $15,000 to $20,000. Fundraising efforts are being planned.
Sky plane caught fire over Los Gatos Canyon. A fireball of lightning, it shook all our hills.
Meanwhile, a new version of the song is now being sung by folk singer John McCutcheon. When he performs his version, we hear the names of the victims in between verses.
Miguel Alvarez, Francisco Duran, Santiago Elizondo, Rosario Estrada, Tomasa Garcia, Bernabe Garcia, Salvador Hernandez.
Jim Roop, CNN.
Won't have a name when you ride that big airplane. All they will call